Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start with telling you how proud I am to see the W Smart Association being engaged in such an event and in this prestigious place, and I'm very happy to be there. And I would like to share with you some points of view from the utility. To start with, let me give you a few information about a few facts about Paris drinking water supply. The city itself, many of you know, but it's a small city with only 2.1 million inhabitants, stuck into the middle of the Ile-de-France region, which numbers 11 million people. So the city is spread out over 100 square kilometers. We count on 3 million consumers during weekdays because we have a lot of people coming from the suburb to study, to work, to shop, to visit our city. We have a daily consumption of 560,000 cubic meter, and the length of the drinking water pipe is 1,800 kilometers. So we add to this 1.1 million cubic meters of drinking water storage capacity. What is very special about Paris is shown on this slide. You will see under each street of Paris a sewer gallery, which is big enough inside, under the street to let people go down and walk inside. You will see hooked to the ceiling of the sewers the drinking water pipe with its connection to the building, and also a non-potable water pipe, which is a secondary network completely extended to the full extent of the city, which is used for our usage which are not requiring water quality for the consumption. And you have wastewater coming back to the sewer, and also, since it's a combined system, you have rainwater getting also to the sewer gallery. So 95% of the pipes in Paris are accessible. You can see that you don't have to dig to look at them. So on a picture it looks like this, and in order not to be lost, you see in the yellow square on the right side is the name of the street, like the one you found on the open air. I heard also some concern yesterday about the evolution of the water needs. You see here the curves of the water good in Paris. You see since 1989 a drop of approximately a little more than 1/3 of the water to be produced. So when I hear people thinking on the difficulty that they find with producing enough water for the future trend of the consumption, well, when you see in Paris, it's not the problem. The problem I have to face now is rather how to shut down a treatment plant, not to produce new one. And with this also, it explains why, if you look at the percentage of the water losses in the distribution system, in Paris, value for 2008 is 3.5%, and that means a very effective tracking of the leakages. Another specificity of Paris, and that would be over with this, is the distribution in the system of chlorine sensors that enable us to check whether there are any quality problems. The sensor, 140 of the sensor, give, as you see on the trends, information on the concentration of chlorine. And we know that chlorine reacts with many pollutants. So the chlorine there is not enough to destroy the capacity of harming of pollutants, but it can raise an alert because there is an abnormal consumption of chlorine in the distribution system. Now let's go to water supply security view from the utility point of view. We know that where water supply has been developed, the citizens, the consumers, are used to rely on others to ensure their basic needs for water. Relying on others means relying on the utilities and relying on the governments. The likelihood of suffering large and persistent interruption of water supply depends on where you are, depends on what resources you have nearby, and what the tenants, what the needs, if they are growing or decreasing. We have two paradoxes according to the water supply security. The first one is the fact that the population with the water supply failure possibility is generally reversely proportional to the level of service. If you have a wonderful level of service where you always just have to open your tap to see water flow. You don't imagine what is behind, and you can't imagine what the life will be without this. On the other hand, people who don't have permanent access to water know the real value of it. Second paradox is the cost of the infrastructure. For water supply, infrastructure is very expensive, unlike, for example, telecommunications. And most people consider, on the other hand, that the acceptable cost for this water supply should be very low because it comes from the rain. It's natural. If you look at risk management in the water supply, why? First, look at the physical parameters. If you have pressure drops, or if you have interruption of flow in the water distribution, it may rapidly lead to sanitation problems and degradation of your daily life. There's another aspect also that everyone should be aware of, is the fact that primarily drinking water supply is made to firefighting. Not necessarily at the beginning, it was not made for the supply of the population, but for firefighting. So we must keep this in mind. Second reason for risk management is concerns the water quality, because not only because you drink water, because you ingest it, but because water that goes in contact with your skin, if you have if your skin is damaged, or if you breathe bad quality of water, you could get diseases, and even you could die. So whenever in a situation the drinking water supply service has suffered interruption of distribution, insufficient pressure, or bad water quality, those who will be held responsible for this are the suppliers, among others. And they will be held responsible for three reasons. For the lack of anticipation. Have you seen what happens? Have you been prepared? Have you prepared yourself against this anticipation problem? And have you reacted in the appropriate way? Just one slide about the distinction between passive security and active security. As you see, passive security would rely, we would call it also physical security. It depends on the infrastructure, stable in time, if the maintenance is well done. It generally calls to heavy investment, as I mentioned, and it responds to a given level of risk. This is the basic level of security, and it is the job of the water supplier. On the other end, we have the active security. Active security depends on the people. This is the training. It requires not only training, but also continuous motivation. It has a lesser cost, and its main interest is that it is adapted to unforeseen situations. This active security is the one which goes beyond and not only limited to the water supplier. We heard that the civil society also has to be involved in active security. What is a crisis? Crisis is a time where we have a loss of control. And the duration of this crisis at the beginning is not known. This is one of the parameters that we have to keep in mind. But one thing is certain, it will come back again to a moment where the effects are no longer felt. So if you look at this graph, you have in vertical scale the level of service explained in percentage, and in the horizontal scale the time going. We start with a situation with 100% of level of service, and then we have an incident. If we manage to have a clear, sound management under crisis situation, we will have the blue line. If we don't, we will have the dotted line. As you can see, first the impact is that the level of service goes below to a bad situation, and it can be reduced, these consequences, with the purple arrow on the back. On the other end, we can also shorten the period of time where we feel the consequences in using the yellow arrow. So we have two-time response recovery, and all the preparedness before is to make this dotted line shift to the blue line.